Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, today I'm in this second generation Jeep Compass. Now the original Compass has been around since 2007, but this second version has been around since 2017. The name Compass is an interesting choice. I think it's supposed to evoke some sort of Lewis and Clark sense of adventure. The name creates the impression that you could take this anywhere and everywhere, whether that's down to your local Asda or mapping out the western frontier. Its general appearance confirms that theory. You get good ground clearance and big wheel arches. But it's probably best if you don't get too adventurous with it. Most of these are only available with two-wheel drive. But if you do want to test it and you want to get a little bit bare grills, then you'll need to look out for the Trailhawk model, which I'm told is very capable off the tarmac. I think it's worth pointing out at this early stage that this isn't quite the American thoroughbred that it'd have you believe. In fact, it's about as American as the Coliseum. You see, under all of its stars and stripes styling, it's actually based on a Fiat 500X. What this is then is Silvio Berlusconi in a Stetson. It's a Fiat with a fanny pack. I know styling's subjective, but in my opinion that first generation Compass didn't really look like an SUV at all. It looked more like a bloated hatchback. I wasn't a big fan. But this one on the other hand is much more like it. I think from most angles it's quite a good looking mid-size SUV. I'm not a huge fan of the squared off wheel arches. I don't quite know what they were trying to achieve there, but apart from that, it does look alright. I think the good thing is it genuinely looks like a capable 4x4, even though it might not be. It doesn't look like a boring mum on the school run car like most of them do. Our roads are flooded with this kind of car at the moment, and most of them are quite forgettable. At least this Jeep looks mildly interesting. That old R129 SL there has been parked for years. It hasn't moved. Might go and knock on his door. Ah, there's one now, with a black pack. That looks quite cool. Moving inside the Compass, it's not bad either. For some reason you automatically assume that Fiats will have a very cheap plasticky interior. Now that might have been true in days of old, but not with modern Fiats, or indeed Jeeps. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't feel luxurious, but it does feel quite grown up, quite mature. Everything you touch or press does feel of reasonable quality. It's all quite pleasant really. In terms of interior space, then it scores quite well. Plenty of headroom, plenty of legroom, plenty of elbow room, and there's plenty of storage. You get decent sized door pockets on all four doors, and there's plenty of space in the back. Granted, the person sat in the middle of the second row might be a little bit squashed, but it's not bad. Bear in mind this is the sibling of the cramped Jeep Renegade. Space isn't at a premium. In fact, it's plentiful. The only place where it's not worth shouting about is in the boot, or as Fiat now probably call it, the trunk. It only provides 438 litres of space, which is less than all of its rivals. It is a little bit inadequate on that front, but on the bright side the seats are comfortable and supportive. It rides quite nicely, it's not too firm. You get an armrest, two cup holders up front, and providing you don't have a fifth passenger, you get two more cup holders in the back. For some reason Jeep have got a bit of a reputation of making unsafe vehicles, and I don't really know where that stems from. This new Compass scored top marks at Euro NCAP, and you get two ISOFIX points in the back, and there are airbags pretty much everywhere. The other good thing is they're all quite well spec'd. All Compasses come with lane departure warning, adaptive cruise control, a tyre pressure monitoring system. You know, just various things that'll make your life easier and safer. There's something that I've noticed about the Compass which is quite odd. You can control the climate control down here using proper physical buttons, or you can operate it from here, from the touchscreen. How weird's that? It's like it's been designed by committee. Where should we put the buttons? Up here or down there? I know, both. How odd. Before we continue, I just want to say a big thank you to today's video sponsor, Car Vertical. It's crucial that you thoroughly check the history of a used vehicle before you buy it. You just don't know what it's hiding. And thanks to Car Vertical, that could not be easier. Right, we've got the VIN from the windscreen there. This is currently checking millions of cars across dozens of countries' databases. It'll tell us whether it's ever been stolen, written off, had a mileage rollback, or has outstanding finance on it. Sometimes if it's been involved in an accident, it even shows you pictures of the damage. If you use my promo code HIGHPEAK, you'll get 10% off. I'll leave the link below so you can try it out for yourself. Right, and the report's ready. Now, this is such a new car, I can't imagine it having that much data against it. But it's especially handy on the older stuff. Right, so that is a Jeep petrol. It's never been stolen, never been involved in any accidents. There's no outstanding finance. Car Vertical have recently revamped the site, so it's a bit more user-friendly. As you can see here, there's not an awful lot of data against this. Never been damaged. Now we've got a market value here, so the approximate market value for such a car is £21,473. We've got the emissions. So that is a 2021 Jeep Compass 1.3 petrol front-wheel drive. And it was registered in Spain. There we go, in June. So thank you Car Vertical for sponsoring today's video. Don't don't forget to use my promo code HIGHPEAK for 10% off. Right, back to the Jeep. Under the bonnet there are various engines available. There's a 1.6 or 2 litre turbo diesel, there's a 1.4 litre turbocharged petrol, or there's a 1.3 litre petrol electric hybrid. The one I'm in today uses the 1.4 litre turbocharged petrol, and to be honest, it's been testing my patience for the last few days. It claims to have 130 odd brake horsepower, which on the face of it ought to be enough, but in reality, it's about as powerful as a primary school tug-of-war team. It's quite inadequate, which means you find yourself changing gear all the time. I feel like a wagon driver. Let me demonstrate what's wrong with this car. So, foot to the floor, nothing happens, and I mean absolutely nothing. Then all of a sudden the turbo kicks in. You get a little bit too much power and too much torque steer, and then it's all over again, and then nothing. Even something which you'd think would be quite simple, like overtaking a cyclist, in this is quite a challenge. Change gear again for the millionth time today. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Too much. All over. No me gusta. This car would have been a lot better had they fitted it with a much bigger turboless engine. Also, while I'm criticising it, it isn't that great on fuel. Because you have to mash your foot into the carpet everywhere you go just to keep up with traffic, you'll average 35 miles per gallon, which isn't an enviable figure nowadays, is it? So, what's it like to drive then? Well, it's alright. It's an alright car. The steering's nice and light, it's quite easy to park, although there's no reverse camera. The brakes are alright, they're not dangerous, there's not much body roll. It's alright. It's a 6 out of 10, it's a C, it's a pass, just. And that's the main problem with this car. It just feels like an also-ran. There's nothing here to move the game along. There's nothing here that any other manufacturer would copy. One thing I've noticed though with this car, which is quite irritating, it won't just sit happily at 40 kilometers an hour. It sort of jumps and jerks around. Let me try and demonstrate this for you. I don't think it's an operator error. So, right now I'm just doing 40 miles an hour, and it's almost as if I'm in too high a gear. I don't know whether you can see this on the camera or not, but it's not happy. It sort of jerks around. So yeah, the Jeep Cherokee, the also-ran. This is a car that's never going to be the top of its class. It's just another option if you're in the market for a medium-sized SUV. It isn't bad, but it's not great either. I think the biggest selling point with this car is that it's a Nissan Qashqai, but it's not a Nissan Qashqai. Do you know what I mean? It's a slightly more interesting Qashqai. And I do quite like the quirkiness of it all. I like the subtle nods to Jeep's history, which goes back all the way to 1941. I know that because every time you switch on the radio, it tells you. Since 1941. They've also left behind these little Easter eggs for you to find. For example, the silhouette of the Willys Jeep on the windscreen. Or the silhouette of the snake on the rear glass. Or the outline of the Jeep grille, which I keep finding in odd places. I also love the fact that you've got these buttons here behind the steering wheel, which is quite an American thing to do. But I think all manufacturers should follow suit. Just the best place for them. The right hand side does the volume, the left side changes track or station. I also love the fact that these are bargains on the used car market. I had a quick look on AutoTrader earlier, and you can pick these up with average mileage for around £12,000, and that does look like great value. Of course, that low price suggests that they're not very desirable, perhaps due to reliability issues, I'm not sure. I can't really confirm that because I've never had much trouble with modern Jeeps or Fiats. They've always been on par with everything else, really. But I guess time will tell. So overall, it's alright. It's an option. To be honest with you though, having driven a new Peugeot 3008 recently, which I've done a video with, so check that out, I'd have one of those instead. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Must be all this sunshine damaging my brain. Anyway, thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. And yeah, cheers guys. See you next time.